maybe you've not been watching my latest live streams, but the tone of my voice then was a bit lighter than some of the content that I've been putting out. And it doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel on point, that lightness to my voice, but it's just within range not to kick up a fuss about it. And I want to say the energy of the day, but it's more than that. It's just circumstance is allowing me to operate in a lighter place today. Nothing's really changed. My mental health challenges me on these regards all the time. So in other words, like my emotions, my mind, my feelings and everything, they don't ever match up to reality. And I've learnt to accept them where possible and where to kick up a fuss about them. But I'm just focused today on getting the flat cleared as much as possible. So I'll need to be coming back here at least a couple of times over the next week to pick up the rest of my belongings. And all being well, I'll be able to do it. But where I'm having to be focused today, there's no room for caring too much about feelings or emotions and that sort of stuff. And it feels nicer in a way because it's a genuine ability to relax to misplaced feelings and emotions today, where I would otherwise have to, well, not have to, but I would otherwise kick up a fuss, because that's how I've learned to operate my mental health, when to kick up a fuss and when not to. The fact that today is a day when I can just forget about them because I've got something else more important to focus upon. And just being in this place and knowing that it's appropriate for my life, I'm able to breathe for 2 seconds, just experiencing a slightly lighter perception of reality than what I've been allowed to experience of late. Picked up my iPad that I've got repaired. A million other electronics have broken in that time, but at least the iPad's repaired. To be honest, I don't give a shit about the iPad. I appreciate what it can offer life, but to give too much emphasis to external possessions in this way is inappropriate. Yeah, that's pretty much everything. Not much more to say than that. It's almost like I want to expand and my mind's just not clicking into gear. But it's just like I guess it's like questioning what reality is really about. I had the Tao Te Ching on earlier on YouTube, and Mine's been flooded with constant love, stories that my mental health forces on me. I don't believe them, and I just learn to ignore them where possible and let myself get taken by them at other times and bring myself back when it eases. But it's just that thing of just seeing how far we've all come as a collective since the time of the Tao Te Ching, and you know, as I was listening to it and hearing it, and it was like it all sounded very appropriate still to modern day times, but you have to have that spiritual awareness about you to digest it in this world. And it's just questioning, you know, other people, you know. We don't have the ability to read minds. We don't have the ability to know other people's hearts and souls and everything that makes up a life in this world, and what makes up life in terms of life in any sense. So, you know, it's knowing that I've, on a personal level, been really had the lucky opportunity to, at least from my uncle, who gave me, you know, a lot of the wisdom of the Taoist teachings as I was growing up, and I don't know if it's hereditary, but I've taken up. I remember something my grandmother used to say. Pares puto Vladimiros, which basically means she took after Vlad. He was into, you know, travelling the world. He met remote tribes, headhunters, wisdom teachers, blah blah blah. From his teens, I think he was travelling to Africa. Nobody travelled anywhere, let alone Africa, back in those times, and he's done a lot. He'd done a lot of work. He'd done a lot of training, studying in his life, and I come along and I applied my simplistic, lazy ass modern day approach to the energy. So for me to take after my uncle, it was almost like I didn't get to know my uncle until after I really began on that journey, as much as obviously I'd spent time with him in the past, but it must have been his energy. Like I've sensed it through the family, and I somehow just saw that as the best path to take in this life, without any consciousness awareness. And I've taken after him, and don't have presence at the moment to really speak as I was speaking before, because what I just shared is like so much information there to expand upon, and with presence you just feel the right thing to say, and that's what I used to do on the live streams, just feel life, feel what I feel like saying. And I grew up and I was really conscious about speaking, and I further added to that with a spiritual audio course that I downloaded illegally on the interwebs back in the day. And I really went into myself in terms of expression. I've been lucky to have other teachers like my friend Kyle Viali. He's my friend on Facebook. He was like totally the opposite in terms of my ability to express, and there's been one or two other teachers again, and as I came into myself with my father's passing last year, I think it was just circumstance again that I just started expressing what was in my heart, what was inside of me that I'd not shared my whole life. And at least from a personal perspective, there was truth in it, and it's good that I'm hearing this next bit, because there was also a lot of a lie in it in terms of how I would have liked to have expressed, because I only really started expressing when my life hit a pain threshold where it was like, I can't take any more pain, I better just switch on the technology and start speaking. And there was times when I was like, yeah, I know what I'm saying. It's like, given the right circumstance, I would have never say it in that way or say it at all. But given the circumstance, it's justified. And I've gone further and further away from what I feel is appropriate and comfortable to speak about in the first instance. But I keep talking, and sometimes it looks terrible, sometimes it has value from what I perceive as value, what I perceive I would like to share as value to the world. And it was like listening to the Tao Te Ching earlier. It was almost like a justification that I'm doing something right, because if you've ever read or listened to the Tao Te Ching, it's always contradictory. Everything is just like, everything is like constant contradictions. There isn't a thing that really makes sense with that your mind can absorb and say, oh yeah, I'll do that, I'll do this, I'll do the other. You can try and do stuff, but there'll be something else in the book, if not on the same page, that you've just, of the thing that you're trying to do, that contradicts it. So there's nothing you can really do from that book in way of actively making change. I mean, there is. I've tried. The only thing you can do is do it. But in doing it, you're not really doing it, because there's nothing to do. And that period of your life that you try to do this thing is intention, is a want, is a desire. And in doing whatever your mind thinks the Tao Te Ching is talking about, you implement it on another level in terms of energy. And then you realise one day, I can't really do this thing anymore because it doesn't make sense to my life, and the instructions weren't really there in the first place. So you sort of let go of trying to do that thing. And in letting go, as time progresses, you realise it's somehow absorbed into your life anyway. So it's a real contradiction, but it's really practical in a really strange, weird way. And I've not been able to listen to it for the longest time because I found it too stimulating in terms of my mental health. The way it's like, the way I listen to stuff, I've needed to let go a lot more to get to the point where I can just listen without thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to listen and I'm going to grow in this area, or I'm going to learn about this, that and the other. It's just like, it's understanding that there's wisdom in the book. You hope that the person who wrote it and translated it, both of them, are of good intention and something that you desire in your life. And you hear the words, but you don't really join up the sentences to make any meaning. And every so often your brain switches on like, oh, that makes sense this way, and you're like, you hear it and you realise it makes sense that way, and you're like, yeah, but it doesn't make sense that way, this the Da Bei Ching. And you just get on with life again. But that's what I was trying to get at, that we're so far away from that wisdom in this world of the unconscious really working on a conscious level, because that's what it is. Understanding the way the universe works and realising that we've been affected by conditioning in our lives, and we are essentially broken as human beings to what our nature really is. And somehow this genius that was Lao Tzu, the author, managed to tap into the universal laws and bring them back to our corrupt consciousness here in a way we can digest it without corrupting us further. And I put a load of books on the boat yesterday. That was something I moved, and it was a really heavy suitcase, old red leather suitcase I've been using since I was a teenager when on family holidays. Just so happened I put books in there, all my books. I've hardly read any of my books. They just sit on the shelf. But I get a feeling like the period where I'm going into, the work I've got to do coming up, reading's going to be appropriate again. In this new mindset that I'm, well, no, not that I'm doing anything, that has become me. I'm able to, I say I'm able to, I've not tried it yet, I hope I'm able to pick up a book and read it and absorb it in the right way. And I'm going to start training myself to do that with more fact-based books, and then I can get onto the more deeper books like autobiographies. I mean, they're all fact-based again, but all I read is fact-based books, and that's all I really consume. Again, since I was a teenager, I've just been that way. Novels and like don't do anything for me. Movies again. I stopped watching movies because of my mental health, and I've never been a big movie person. But as I said, it just feels like the right time to start reading. I'm going to be selecting through the books. I might share some of the, I was going to say wisdom that comes to me, but just some of the content. And the live streams going forward. But that's something else. That's number 10. I've been looking for positives in my life. I didn't realise them, but I've got positives. I'm going to go into a period that is essentially going to be confronting this period of turmoil head on. So I've not been running from it, I've just been trying to live my life, and this turmoil's been knocking on my door, and it just keeps knocking, and it's been knocking louder. It's broken the door down and it's ripped the house apart, and I'm like in the rubble in my house, and I've realised that I can't keep it away any longer, ultimately, unless I deal with this turmoil. I'm never going to have a home to live in. So I'm plotting a course to confront it head on and deal with it head on. But it's broken me down so much over the past, I don't know, year, 2 years, whatever, that I made the live stream a few weeks back, and I realised that there are positive things to take into this period with me that might see me through it. And reading is another one there, so I've got 10 things now to keep me positive. I know 12 is the magic number on things to do, so if I can find another couple positive things, I might stand a chance against an impossible scenario. But the football's on today. I live a stone's throw from Emirates Stadium. All the Arsenal fans were out earlier, but I think the Sunday morning hangover from last night was affecting them. They were a bit sheepish in their voice. They weren't loud, that's what I'm trying to say. It's just the energies in my life, you know, that's what I listen to. And it's a weird thing, because one of the things I remember my uncle telling me is that he doesn't really read books. And I was like, I don't really read books either, Dad. But I know he's read books, whereas I've just read a few. But he also told me, you know, be honest with yourself. And it just feels like right now's the right time to read books again. I'm going to have to say it, because my mental health is quite bad in this regard. I posted a post on Facebook. It's my pinned post on my page. It's asking any friends in Brighton that might hear the request to pass on a message to another friend I'm unable to pass on the message to myself. It's basically a personal thing to just help my mental health. In the media, and if you do pass it on for me, please just put a comment that it's been done, so that way I can take the post down. It's not there in public. And yeah, no, you'd be doing me a massive favour. Yeah, I just had to say it, the way my mental health was coming at me again. With at the end of this video, I wasn't going to mention it, but you know, my mental health was getting worse, and that's the whole point that I'm making the request. So it was appropriate to ask.